Yeah, what I need is for people to come forward, but that seems to be like pulling teeth. A lot of people, they just screwed up real bad and they don't want to admit that they screwed up. They don't really care what happens to me. And that really does put a damper on a lot of stuff. But on the bright side, they can't make me be the bad guy either. All they can do is pretend.
Okay, hi.
Hey, Meg,
Hi.
I'm going to try to reposition my phone because it's not wanting to charge.
Oh,
All right, we'll see if that worked. Kind of, sort of. All right, go ahead.
sorry, I've been literally typing for 3 hours. Um, I wanted to have this done because I wanted to be able to read it to you so that I could breathe and know that it was accurate and, you know, but I'm still not done and I don't know what to do.
Well, get it as accurate as you can and send it in, I guess. I mean, that's everything's on a deadline and everything's getting done last minute, and that's not your fault. There was a lot of stuff that other people were going to help me with, and they just never got around to. That's
Yeah,
that's not your fault.
yeah. Can I read the one that's from you? Because that one I think is done.
Sure.
Or would that be better for me to do that when you're not there? I don't know.
I don't know how reading it to me when I'm not there would get me to hear it, but
Well, I just mean if you needed to do something else while you were still there, just it's a waste of time. I don't know.
well, the Dallas and Harley, they're gonna let me eat dinner here and make my phone call, so it's not like I'm like really super stressed, but it is 11 o'clock and they got work in the morning and
Yeah. Okay. Well, if it's okay, I'll just read this to you. I know it's not going to say 100% of everything, but I think it's a good start. Okay. So here's yours, and then I'll read it once, and then you tell me whatever you want because it's coming from you. It's your voice, your statement. So here we go. Okay. I would like. Hang on, somebody coming. Hang on 1 second. No.
privacy is a
Okay.
pain.
I would like my safety addressed first. I have nowhere to stay safely. I have a disability, no money, no transportation, no advocate, no family, no support system. Everyone believes that all of this is 100% my doing and just wants me to go away. No one will look at the fact that this started in 2016, that I literally am a victim in dozens and dozens of ways, but everyone sees me as the problem. All the court case harassment, verbal and physical assaults that have been happening since 2016 have cost me all of my disability money and my safety. All of those issues are related. People just say Sean's a jerk or Sean's mentally ill. Nobody considers that 4 years of this has destroyed me, my money, my loved ones, and the few family I had. They don't consider that this extreme stress, slander, actual physical assaults, verbal assaults, and hazing is why I am the way I am today. All of this has taken place over multiple states in the last 4 years, and all of these cases and situations are related. Everyone acts as though being accused of stalking and being a person of interest in a murder is in the past, and I just need to get over it. I'm told that I'm crazy for still talking about it. It's not in the past. I have multiple warrants, multiple safety threats that are still ongoing. I have documented proof of screenshots, recordings, messages, witnesses, names that will address all of this and provide the proof I need in court in Nebraska, Colorado, and Virginia. I don't know if you want me to name all 3 states.
Well, there's a lot of other states too, but that's a good start.
I'll just do those 3. I need help in person to organize this evidence so that it is usable in court to defend myself in a safe environment. Without that, I continue to be a target to the public and bad law enforcement, and I am in violation of the courts in several states. I've been taken advantage of over and over. That doesn't even address that I have not ever been able to turn in anyone who has harmed me, Throughout all of this time, I get protection in the law. That isn't right, legal, or moral. I am not mentally ill. This is a complicated mess. And if any other citizens file a complaint against anyone else or me, it is investigated and taken seriously. If I do it, especially if it's against law enforcement, it is denied, brushed aside, and ignored. That is wrong and illegal. This has gone on so long that I'm literally unable to organize this on my own. I don't have the skills, ability, or safe place to do this without help. I have asked hundreds of times for help. Everyone says that I don't want help or that I won't accept help. I had an autism advocate who did help me get my Social Security, disability, Medicaid, driver's license, and housing. I didn't refuse her help. I worked with her to get those things. The help, in quotes, that I did not accept is telling me to move on or move to random places with no support, with the same problems in new, unfamiliar places, or when I was told to just call numbers, go on websites, or do computer things that I have no ability to do. I know YouTube and Facebook. I need help in person to learn other computer things. I do actually have a disability. I have attempted to talk to law enforcement calmly and have been ignored for years. The only time I am not ignored is when I break the law to get them to listen. Even then, they don't. I have been trying to force this. You got to really come back to this one because it needs to be accurate. I've been trying to force a court date for 2 years so that I can be heard because going to law enforcement and state
4 years.
agencies has done.
4 years. I started trying to get a court date in the very beginning of 2017 because it had been ongoing for a few months, and at that point, I'd had enough people that were friends of hers and friends of Maddie Bowes threaten me that I was really, really pushing hard to get a court date. And I actually started that in December of 2016 when I went to Peach's house, but she was preoccupied with selling weed and playing video games.
Yeah. Okay, so I have been trying to force a court date for 4 years so that I can be heard just because going to law enforcement and state agencies have gotten me nowhere. Instead of anyone taking the time to really investigate, look at the proof that I do have, it is easier to just call me mentally ill and run me out of town. The sheriff refused to do anything about his own deputies, Cody Stillhorst and Jared Hahn. There are many other situations that I have not been able to turn in regarding the sheriff and deputies. He just wants me gone. I was run out of town was that 2018?
Yes, sir. Or yes, ma'am.
2018 or 2017?
It was 2018. They didn't try running me out of town until after Natalie was dead, and those officers did those things to try to scare me out of town. And when I went to turn them in, that's when they started doing that stuff. I mean, they'd already attempted to run me out of town twice. Cody Selhorst, or 3 times. Cody Selhorst and Jared Hahn had.
I was run out of town in 2018, and he wants me gone again now. 4 weeks ago, Wendell McPhee told me that the sheriff was trying to run me out of town. I have an audio recording of this. I also have Sandy Fromm on audio recording telling me the same thing. I was scared. I tried to get the sheriff to investigate his own deputies. I tried to get the state patrol to investigate the sheriff. I have no transportation and no shelter. The small shelter I had was taken away from me because the sheriff scared Dallas into not letting me stay there with a threat to not help him with DHHS and his kids. That's right?
Yep.
That is wrong to use someone's kids because they want to get rid of me. Again, I do have warrants in other states. The sheriff told me multiple times that I had no warrants. He told the state patrol I had no warrants. The state patrol said I didn't have any warrants. He told me I was free to go anywhere. He was successful in running me out of town. I ran. I was arrested in Colorado in December.
I didn't run. I did not run.
Okay.
I did not run.
Okay.
I went down to Colorado to try to go somewhere safe where I could actually sit down and go through this.
Okay. I went to Colorado to get to a safe place where I could work on
all of the evidence. And Star came down for that too. Like, that's the thing, is that people have been trying to help me all along. Police are preventing them from helping me.
I went to Colorado to a safe place where I could work on things and get help in person. Okay. So he told me I was free to go anywhere. I went to Colorado. Okay, so is that not right? State Patrol said you didn't have any warrants. He told you didn't have any warrants. And so you went to Colorado to get to a safe place where you could work on things to head off in person. I was arrested in Colorado in December 2020 because I did have warrants. I now have a court date next week on January 28th. I have no transportation, no money to get there.
It's on the 26th.
26th?
Yes, ma'am. The other thing to mention is that they have done that since day one. They have done that since January of 2018. Law enforcement across the country has done this.
Okay, let me finish this and then we'll come back.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have no transportation, no money to get there. This is a case related to the same thing everything else is related to, the volunteers and all the events surrounding that. This has been happening for years. I have suffered abuse most of my life in the hands of family and foster care system, mental hospitals, public as a homeless man, law enforcement, jail systems. I have been taken advantage of, ridiculed, mocked, and treated horribly. I have autism, Tourette's syndrome, and sensory processing disorder. I do not have schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. My meltdowns, anxiety attacks, fear, and frustration all come from being in a constant state of fear and stress over the years, especially the past 4. I want an honest day in court. I want a disability advocate in person to help me navigate this. I want to prove my innocence. I want this nightmare of 4 years behind me. I want nothing else than my own place, safety, and a dog of my own, and a life without fear.
God, I would love a dog.
Yeah. I would like you to have a dog as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So, overall, I mean, I can't add a lot, but I don't want anything to be inaccurate. So if there's anything you want taken out, or it's not stated exactly the way it's what I recall of what you're telling me. So
It's close enough. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to bring up, but I got a feeling you're going to bring them up in what you wrote.
well, here's the deal too, is I'm going to start when I'm writing, and it's not done. So I'm going to just start. I have previously sent a letter to Judge Rowland in December outlining my experience and volunteer work with Sean Schwartz. I will include that in the letter for the court. I have spoken with Sean and told him that I would provide additional detailed information today. First and foremost, I'm a volunteer because they keep thinking I'm something else. I have been involved with several agencies over the past 12 months in connections with Sean. I've talked to Sean on the phone, email, and text a considerable amount of time over the past year and have an understanding of the complexity of this situation. I'm not able to travel to chapel, and I'm not able to be the in-person advocate that Sean needs. I have family work and other life obligations that prevent me from supporting Sean in person. He needs an advocate that will help him organize and manage the legal issues he is facing and the security issues he has. Until those legal and safety issues are addressed and resolved, he is at risk. It is a serious issue. I have tried to find Sean an actual advocate in the chapel area. I've reached out to Region 1, DHH, State Patrol, Adult Protective Services, Chapel Housing Authority, Social Security, and I have not been able to find any agency that does anything related to an in-person advocate for support. I have not received any return phone calls from several of these agencies, even after multiple attempts. I've tried to contact legal aid and disability rights as well. Because of the quantity and timeline of the situation and the depth of information he has compiled, there is a huge amount of information. I've tried to problem solve ways for Sean to be able to organize the information he has gathered over the last 4 years so that he can share information in a usable way in his defense in court. Recently, I created a Google Drive link for him to start uploading this information. He had help in person for a very short time, and that person was able to take pictures and upload over 1,800 photos. I am the owner/creator of the Google Drive folder and can see everything that is uploaded. I can help organize this to a point, but I cannot help him find a safe place or help to organize this to the level that is needed to give to a court advocate, public defender, or any legal counsel. Sean cooperated with me when I helped him get his SSI medical and license. When I suggested he leave chapel and return to Colorado or somewhere else, he told me he was unsafe and had warrants and didn't have the means to take care of himself in a new, unfamiliar place. And that's when I kind of stopped, because I was going to start to say, at first I didn't understand that because I thought you should just leave. But then when I realized the complexity of the legal crap, I realized why. And so one of the things I wanted to say, but I didn't want to offend you, is if I could say something like, in talking with you, I've told you this, that some of the stuff just sounds outlandish, or like it can't be real, or it's just too much. But once I stripped away, when you're stressed and you're, having a meltdown or whatever, and I was able to kind of strip that away and start to formulate a timeline, I started to realize what you were saying. But I don't want to offend you either.
That's not offensive in the least bit.
I mean, I just want to, you sound like, holy crap, man, that can't be real.
Yep. And that's one of the major issues with a lot of this is that I have sent these people links to these different news agencies that have had stories about these places. 17 of these places I was at have been in the news. And I tried sending them links, but nobody bothered to look at them. So, I mean, it's not that the evidence doesn't exist, it's that it's easier just to brush it off as if I'm crazy than it is to look it up. Waylon Wolotai, how long does it take to find his name or what he did on the internet?
Yeah.
Like 10 seconds. You type his name and it's there. Same thing with Clearview. They are being closed down for exactly the things I said they did. But nobody bothered to investigate it until a year later. And all of these situations where the police actually did something, it's because somebody else, other than the victim, came forward. The victim is never allowed to speak.
Yeah.
And it's even more difficult when they have the mentally ill tag that they throw at you. But they used the mentally ill tag as loosely as they could to pretend I was schizophrenic. And they did everything they could to try to get a doctor to, well, there were no actual doctors in the places where I was being harassed, but they did everything they could to have me diagnosed as schizophrenic to justify what they did. The problem with that is that trying to diagnose me as schizophrenic is only going to hurt them in the long run because I still have the evidence.
Yeah.
The stuff that they called me crazy for saying, the proof is there. You have the Google OneDrive, you get to see a lot of that stuff. And you've also, I've sent you a few links to the videos. There's probably close to 500 or 600 conversations with witnesses just on my YouTube at this point. There's also probably an additional 500 or so that are, it's people talking about their personal lives instead of listening to what's going on. So I can't be posting up the names of them and their kids and all that kind of stuff where it's going to be an issue that's going to put them at risk. So, I mean, I've got a lot of stuff that I don't get to show. And I never wanted to go to Facebook or YouTube to begin with. That's just the stuff I know how to use. And even then, just barely. I mean, I had to get help making my own email account, for shit's sake.
Okay, so I just wrote this. Tell me if this is offensive. I shared with Sean that what he has said, or the ways he says it, seem made it hard to understand or too wild to believe. Not wild. What's a better word?
Fact is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
That's the thing here is that they're trying to say that it is outlandish, and it absolutely is, but it's outlandish in a different way than they're pretending.
Yeah.
But when you tell them that there are now 22 people that are dead because of it, they do treat you like you're crazy. And at the very beginning, it was just 3 people that were dead because of it, and then it was 9 people that were dead because of it, and then Dmitry Shanklin was killed, and a lot of other people, and Anna was killed, and yeah, I understand that it sounds crazy. That's why I needed somebody to look at it, and now that you've gotten to see it, you get to realize it's not crazy.
Yeah, I want to work on that paragraph, but
I think what you have to say is actually better than anything I would have written down because I mean I'm overwhelmed all the time with this. There is no aspect of my life that has not been permeated by this hell.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends have been threatened, harassed, and intimidated by the police, and they're too afraid to come forward. Between coming forward and stabbing me in the back, they chose to stab me in the back. There's also a lot of people that were trying to help me, but I was just repeatedly cut off from them. I sent you Todd's number. He's one of the guys that I stayed with right after Natalie was killed. He was the one that was all strung out on ketamine, but he's doing better now. He's trying to clean up his shit. And then I also sent you the one to Mateo. Mateo is one of the people that I went to for help as well. He was trying to help me get the evidence that was stolen by Brian Valenzuela. That's an officer with the Sheridan Police Department. But he actually was investigating a crime from another jurisdiction, so he never should have even been there. But the fact is that I was tortured into pleading guilty regardless. They made empty promises, even my public pretenders. And I have witnesses. There's one of them named Steve Tomlinson, who was there in Larimer County. There was witnesses to the assaults. I have stuff that's written by people that I was in jail with, like Noah Matthew Benson, and well, I suppose at this point I should let you do most of the talking. I mean, this is a really complicated situation. You already knew that.
Yeah. Okay,
But a lot of people keep telling me to move. I've moved over 40 times since Natalie died, so it's not that I haven't tried it.
Yeah. I'm sure with Sean that what he says, what he finds it, it's so freaking hard. What he says.
It's 11 at night, and you've been working on it a few days. It's gonna. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I'm sure with Sean that what he has said, or the ways he often says it, makes it seem too outlandish to be believed. However, when I have listened over time, I have been able to pull out the details and see there is legitimacy. Sean needs to have a person who can go through this and get it to a usable amount of information so that he can defend himself in court. This. Okay.
If you could mention my physical disabilities, that is pretty important. I mean, I can't walk upstairs without a handrail. I can't step off a curb without hurting.
Okay, I'll get to that in just a quick second. I've talked to a county clerk in Colorado after he was recently arrested there. I had previously checked to find out if he had warrants and was told he didn't have any. There seems to be a lot of confusion as to why Sean would not just move back to Colorado. I now fully understand why. I have looked at some of the documents, listened to some of the recordings, and seen screenshots. I've also looked into some of the names in the timeline. I have found that it matches what he is saying. I have shared with Sean that I will document what I can of this timeline, and I have documented what he has shared to the best of my ability. But I am unable to process all of this. He needs an advocate and a safe place to stay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I go back to yours, the parts that they have to be exactly what you want, because I don't want anything turned in that then comes back and isn't something you really wanted said, or it's not the way you said it. So I'm going to slow down.
It's lacking a lot of details, but it's as proper as it can be given the lack of details.
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to read one paragraph at a time quick.
Okay.
And see if you've got anything wrong with it, okay?
Okay.
It's probably gets harder as we go, but here. Okay, I have a disability. no money, no transportation, no advocate, no family, no support system. Everyone believes that this is 100% my doing and just wants me to go away. No one will look at the fact that this started in 2016, that I literally am a victim in dozens and dozens of ways, but everyone sees me as the problem. All the court dates, harassment, verbal and physical assaults that have happened since 2016 have cost me all of my disability money and my safety. All of those issues are related. People just want to say Sean is a jerk or Sean is mentally ill. Nobody considers that 4 years of this has destroyed me. My money, my loved ones, and the few family I had. They don't consider that this extreme stress, slander, actual physical assaults, verbal assaults, and hazing is why I am the way I am today. All of this has taken place over multiple states for the last 4 years. All of these cases and situations are related. Is that paragraph okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here's the next one. Everyone acts as though being accused of stalking and being a person of interest in a murder is in the past and that I need to just get over it. I am told I am crazy for still talking about it. It's not in the past. I have multiple warrants, multiple safety threats that are still ongoing. I have documented proof and screenshots, recordings, messages, witness names that will address all of this and provide the proof I need in court in Nebraska, Colorado, and Virginia. Do you want me to list all 3 states or no?
That's fine. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I need help in person to organize this evidence so that it is useful.
The one thing I think that should be included in that paragraph is the number of drug addicts and alcoholics that I've had to depend on.
Okay. I have, and the one I was just saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no. The one with the court thing or this new one? I need help in person.
Yep.
Organize this evidence so that it's useful to, okay.
Having to go to alcoholics and drug users for help doesn't yield any help. And I don't know how best to word that, but the fact that those are the people I've had to go to because of the conduct of police, it's scary. It's scary to be in those environments. I'm gonna eat my dinner while we talk. Oh my God, Jess, you got me 2 sandwiches. Dude, you are a badass.
Yeah, I think we did that.
Sorry, they got me a chuck wagon and a chicken and Swiss, and those are like the 2 best sandwiches that they make.
Wow.
So apparently he's eaten at Pumpkin Pantry before.
I'm trying to depend on people. Alcoholics. Oh, love.
Apparently my phone is beeping at us. No, that's my keyboard.
Okay.
Alright, now it's in.
Hello, people. I can't spell alcoholics.
Do what?
I can't spell alcoholics.
ALCOHOLICS.
I put an extra H in there.
Yeah,
Alcoholics.
I had an 8th grade spelling level and a college reading level at the age of 6.
Wow.
Yeah, I read the entire Bible by the time I was before I turned 7. Matter of fact, I wrote my name on the back page of every book that I read at that point in time. But the Bible was so big that I wrote it on the side, on the not on the binding, but on the pages themselves. And my mom, she was so pissed off. She did probably about 30 seconds worth of slapping me everywhere that was exposed. It didn't really register to her that my name was on it because I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They actually found out that I had an IQ of 172 at Centennial Peaks Mental Hospital outside of in Boulder County, Colorado, and that was in 1986. So yeah, or 1987 maybe. Um, that was when my mom signed my life over, and that's when my life in the system really began. Before that, I had a really good foster home outside of Scotts Bluff, me and my older brother, and it was great. We had our own cow, but after that, it just went to hell. Also, when the first discussion of me being autistic was really brought forth to my parents, that was my dad had always bragged about how intelligent I was. And then when we went to see the neurologist and he was talking about Asperger's and stuff like that, my dad went from, bragging about how intelligent I was to basically trying to hide me from everybody and assuming no matter what, it was always my fault. So, me and him actually had a discussion about whether or not I should get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
And we decided not to, mostly because it was going to cost him too much money. Bless you.
Oh, okay, I'm going to read you the next paragraph.
Yes, ma'am.
I've been taken advantage of over and over and over. That doesn't even address that I have not been able to turn in anyone who has harmed me throughout all of this time and get protection in the law. That isn't right, legal, or moral. I am not mentally ill. This is a complicated mess. If any other citizens file a complaint against anyone else or me, it is investigated and taken seriously. If I do, especially if it's against law enforcement, it is denied, brushed aside, and ignored. That is wrong and illegal. This has gone on so long that I'm literally unable to organize this on my own. I don't have the skills or ability or safe place to do this without help. Okay, next paragraph. I have asked hundreds of times for help. Everyone says that I don't want help or that I won't accept help. I had an autism advocate who did help me get Social Security, disability, Medicaid, driver's license, and housing. I didn't refuse her help. I worked with her to get those things back. The help, quotes, that I did not accept is telling me to move to random places with no support and the same problems in new, unfamiliar places. Or when I'm told to just call numbers, go on websites, or do computer things that I have no ability to do them. I know YouTube and Facebook. I need help in the computer things. I actually have a disability. Okay. This one, I want to make sure it's what you want to say. Okay, I have attempted to talk to law enforcement calmly and have been ignored for years. The only time I am not ignored is when I break the law to get them to listen. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Even then, they don't. I have been trying to force a court date for 4 years so that I could be heard because going to law enforcement and state agencies has gotten me nowhere. Instead of anyone taking the time to really investigate, look at the proof that I do have, it is easier to just call me mentally ill and run me out of town. The sheriff refuses to do anything about his own deputies, Cody Selhorst and Jared Hahn. There are many situations that I have not been able to turn in regarding the sheriff and deputies. He just wants me gone. I was run out of town in 2018, and he wants me gone now. 4 weeks ago, Wendell McPhee told me that the sheriff was trying to run me out of town, and in parentheses, I have an audio recording of this. I also have Sandy Fromm. Is it F-R-O-M-M?
F-R-O-M. From.
Just one M.
Yep.
With a Sandy with an I or a Y?
A Y.
Okay. On audio recording telling me the same thing. I was scared. I tried to get the sheriff to investigate his own deputies. I tried to get the state patrol to investigate the sheriff. I have no transportation and no shelter. The small shelter I had was taken away from me because the sheriff scared Dallas into not letting me stay there with a threat to not help him with the HHS and his kids. Is that sentence correct?
Yeah.
To help him with the HHS and his kids? Sorry.
I got food in my mouth.
That's okay.
The sheriff was trying to insinuate that the GHHS would use this against Dallas. So that's only a part of the issue, though. But I don't want to go into too much detail about that. I got the stuff that I needed as far as that goes, and I want to have as little impact on his life as possible. I mean, he's doing good. He's busting his ass. He's going to work. He's doing everything he can to get his kids. He's a badass, no doubt.
So do you want that in there still?
Yes, ma'am. I just don't want it to be something where it becomes a big thing where Dallas has to deal with any more consequences for him and his kids. That's not okay. The kids do need to come first in this.
Yeah, I'm gonna, just to be safe, in case you want to talk to him, I'm gonna send this sentence to you send it to you in a text, just to make sure that it's accurate, because I'm worried. I don't want anything to go wrong now for him or anybody. So I sent you that text, and you can look at it and make sure. Okay.
Well, he got to hear it, so I mean it's. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That is wrong to use someone's kids because they want to get rid of me. Again, I do have warrants in other states. The sheriff told me multiple times that I had no warrants. He told the state patrol I had no warrants. The state patrol said I did not have warrants. He told me I was free to go anywhere. I went to Colorado to get to a safe place where I could work on things and get help in person. I was arrested in Colorado. How did they catch you? Why were you arrested there?
We pulled over and I had to pee. I was arrested over warrants.
But I mean, why did they stop you guys?
One moment. Juan likes to call his family, and he talks for like forever. And although I don't know what he was saying because it was all in Spanish, his phone call lasted about an hour, I think. So when we pulled over so I could pee, we were there for about an hour, and it was on County Road 70 in Logan County. The officer that I spoke to, I actually do know him from one of the jails. I just don't remember which one. He was a transfer from a different county, and that's for certain. He even made mention of recognizing me from somewhere. I told him it was probably from the news. But his name, when I was going through the paperwork, I saw his name again. So I believe he was at the Arapahoe County Jail, but I am not for certain.
So they just came up on you guys because you were sitting on the road too long?
Yep.
Okay.
Then they ran my name, and I was fucking freaking out. I explained to Star, I was like, hey, they're probably going to arrest me. She said, we already checked. There's no warrants. They're not going to arrest you. It's fine. We got permission from Nebraska State Patrol, said that there was no reason that I couldn't leave state. And I don't know exactly which officer that was, but Star was on the phone with me with that officer. She might remember.
So I'm going to go ahead and explain that because otherwise they're going to think you did something wrong in Colorado to get arrested. So I was traveling with the person who came to help me. We were pulled over.
We were already pulled over. Sorry, go ahead.
Side of the road to take a break when an officer stopped to what they say they stopped for.
They said they stopped because somebody called it in saying they thought we were prowling or something to that nature. Because we were stopped for so long. The thing is, like, Juan was still on the phone when the cop pulled up.
So they weren't. I don't want to know. Never mind. They ran our licenses, and I was arrested because I did have warrants. Okay. I was traveling with the person who came to help me. We were pulled over on the side of the road to take a break. When an officer stopped, they ran our licenses, and I was arrested in Colorado because I did have warrants.
Yep.
Okay. I now have a court date next week on January 26th. I have no transportation, no money to get there. This is the case related to the same thing everything else is related to. Volunteers and all the events that surrounded that situation. Period. This has been happening for years. Okay. I have suffered abuse most of my life, and that one, I think is fine. I want an honest day in court. I want a disability advocate in person to help me navigate this. I want to prove my innocence. I want this nightmare of 4 years behind me. I want nothing else in my own place, safety, a dog of my own, and a life without fear. And what makes me want to cry every time I read that is I have an idea that stupid Social Security money that's now gone because I saw this thing where somebody took a shed, like a nice shed, a tall shed, and fixed it up and added insulation, added stuff to it over the time. You just needed a lot. You just needed and like a $3,000 thing and a lot. And you could have had your own place, and now that's all gone. And
Well, that's the thing, is that I couldn't get a bank account because of my dad.
I know.
So without that bank account, I couldn't do anything. So I invested in trying to make a business that would be social distancing acceptable, which is why I got all those air rifles.
I just hope this is none of my business, but I wish at some point all that sell it all, get some money back, and be able to buy a little spot, for yourself, so you can start to build. But that's my hope for you. I know it's not.
And I could get back to rescuing people, which is what I was made for.
Yeah.
And rescuing dogs as well.
Say what?
And rescuing dogs as well.
Yeah. So that's yours, and then mine is pretty much what it is. I think the way I ended it was I talked to the county clerk in Colorado after he was recently arrested there. I previously checked, signed out if he had warrants, told he didn't have any, blah, blah, blah. I have looked at some of the documents, listened to some of the recordings, and seen some of the screenshots. I've also looked at some of the names and timeline. I have found that it matches what he is saying. I learned with Sean that I have shared with Sean that I will document what I can of this timeline and I have documented what he has shared to the best of my ability, but I am unable to process all of this. He needs an advocate and a safe place to stay.
It's messed up. Is that when I said I couldn't process it, people treated me like shit, but you can't process it all either. There's just too much.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't treat you like you're a bad guy for it.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the two documents. I will save these, and I will. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to give you a chance to say anything. I don't know if I can request that they read this statement out loud. I don't know if at least it's submitted to the judge, then it's officially there. I don't know. But I do have, they did send me the Zoom link.
All right. So you'll be able to see the court. Well, are they going to let you speak?
I asked for that, and I think on Zoom, unless I think they can mute me, but I will ask. And part of why I wanted all this written down, why I spent all this time, was if something goes south, I want there at least to be a formal document of what we were going to say.
Yes, ma'am.
And also, the other benefit of doing that is then it could be given to other people too.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
going to go on here. I don't know. Let me check my email real quick. Oh. Hang on. Okay, it says Zoom invite Thursday the 21st. The one thing is confusing to me because the Google Calendar invite that they sent says 3 p.m. That can't be right. But the other one says 8 a.m.
8? They told me 9.
This 8 Mountain Time. What? That's what I thought it was 9 too, but this says, okay. Cheyenne County Court Zoom meeting.
We got to pause for a second. That's a lot of confusing stuff that they keep on doing. How are we supposed to know? When they say it's 8 Mountain Time, and then they tell me that it's 9, and they've got it written down that it's 3 something. Like, literally, every single time this happens, something like this or similar. And, if I don't do it exactly how they want it and when they want it, then I am a bad person who's not trying. And that.
Well, this can't be right either. Hang on. Let me reread this. Let me go look it up on the thing, too. Because I had your... Yeah, it says 9 a.m. on the court docket.
Yep.
But the Zoom invite, maybe they just send this out to, like, everybody, and it's for the whole day.
Maybe.
The Zoom part.
I do know that they told me I got to show up in person.
Yeah. Thursday and Mountain Time. Why does it say that?
I don't know.
I'll get on it. It's got to be 9 o'clock because that's what the docket actually says.
Well, I'm going to be there at 8 just in case because they pulled shit like this before.
Yeah, I could go on at 8 too. Or not, it'll be 9 my time. So, let me go look it up real quick.
Yes, ma'am. It's after midnight there. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Never can spell that either.
U-E-L. D-E-U-E-L.
County Court. Oh, that's probably not actually what I need. I need the state. That's weird because if you go to the state, Nebraska state.
All right, I'm gonna be packing up my stuff while you're doing that. I'm still close enough to listen. As soon as we're done, I want to be able to get out of their hair so they can go to bed.
Yep.
You can crash here tonight.
Yeah?
Me and Harley are going to go up there, but
Fucking badass.
you can stay warm tonight.
Hopefully that won't get them in trouble. Do what?
Just let the dog out in the morning.
I certainly will.
One more time tonight. If you're up late, you'll want to go out again.
Absolutely. Well, I take him out anyway. I took him out twice today just because.
Alright, that's all I ask.
Yes, sir. All right, go ahead, Meg. I guess I'm not in such a hurry.
Okay. Are you packing? I'm looking this up real quick.
Yes, ma'am. I got my stuff pretty well packed. He said I could pass out here for the night, so I won't have to go out into the cold.
Okay. Yeah, the online it says 9 a.m. room 1. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure that I go in at 8 just because I've had them change things on me, and then I get in trouble for it when they change things, especially if I'm not notified. So if it's got an 8 o'clock thing, I want to make sure that I'm there at 8 because although I didn't get a notification, if it says something different, I do have a lot of reason to be paranoid of it.
Yeah, I don't worry about that 8 to 5 thing is just this weird Zoom county meeting thing that they sent.
Yes,
it
ma'am.
doesn't say anything about you. It's just about the Zoom meeting. So I think that's just for the whole. It's literally for the whole day. There's a Zoom link. So I think that's why it's that way.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think it's. I think your 9 o'clock is accurate.
That's one of the things that disturbed me the most is like none of these police officers, when they were talking to anybody else, made any mention of any of the assaults that I tried to turn in. All they talk about is the internet. That is all they're willing to talk about. They pretend everything that happened in real life just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's a major issue at the moment.
Yeah.
Also, when they were talking about you, I mean, literally, they didn't bring up anything with you except Amanda, or not Amanda, Officer Jones, I think it was, said all I do is scream at you, which, well, given the information that's what they said. That's all they said about you at all. They didn't say anything about the fact that I've been trying to get help from you for all of this time, or bring up the fact that the things that they thought you were supposed to do, you did tell Officer Holloway that that's not what you do, and they still continued that. I mean, they made it as incredibly impossible as they could, and they just keep on omitting information. Like, if they omit the information, it means it didn't happen. And that has been used to harm me repeatedly. I mean, the assaults that I still have to endure, I wasn't assaulted at all while I was down in Denver, and I haven't been assaulted since I've been back to Nebraska, but it's something that I have to fear every day.
Yeah.
I have to fear that one of these beer bottles that people keep throwing at me is going to... Night, Harley. Night, Dallas. God, I couldn't get that word out. Come here, Walter. Good boy. Good boy. Oh. Oh my God, you're wonderful, buddy. You are wonderful. That is not yours. That is not yours. You know better. He gives you food, I don't. What a little fucking punk. Apparently I've been gone too long. You forgot not to beg from me. Go ahead. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, well.
One of these beer bottles might actually hit. The last beer bottle to hit me bounced off of my head, and I got lucky. All I ended up with was a headache. But I mean, if it hit me in the side of the head instead of the top of the head, it might have been lights out for me.
Yeah.
I tried turning in the people whose names I knew, and I can't turn in the people whose names I don't know because the police aren't going to investigate the people whose names I do know. You know?
Yeah.
And when I tell them, yeah, I had a guy who has driven by me on several occasions in a silver Silverado who throws beer bottles at me, they're like, well, what are we going to do about it? There's lots of people drive those. It's Nebraska. But at least, like the situation with Chris Kurth, it is documented that I was trying to get help back in 2018, and it is also documented that he continued to do those things even last year. He was doing them. He went all the way out to Sandy Fromm's to threaten me at her house. Later on, Sandy Fromm threatened to kill me. She was trying to hire a guy in town named Tim to do it. And I got conversations with Wendell McPhee and Sandy Fromm about that, because Wendell was able to tell me his name was Tim, that he lived down the street, and that he was tall, but Sandy Fromm was able to tell me the last name of the guy. Like, that's what weirded me. Well, she was really drunk, too, so, she was basically spilling all the beans, and that was on my birthday last year. I spent the day driving her around doing the errands that she wanted to do, because if I didn't do it, she was going to be driving around drunk, and she was probably going to run over somebody's kid or get into an accident. I mean, she was really drunk.
Yeah.
I don't remember Tim's last name off the top of my head, but it's in those recordings.
Yeah. Okay, well.
I need you to get some sleep. We're about as far as we can get. If we go any further tonight, we're both going to be shit in the morning.
Yeah.
Pardon my French.
I need to. The one thing I didn't get done is I didn't get this email to the clerk, and I don't know what her email is. So I'll try at 8 in the morning I'll look tonight and see if there's an email online.
Yes, ma'am.
And then I'll also have them saved so that I can put them in the chat. If they're in there, they can open them from there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Meg. Bye.
Bye.
Well, luckily, she didn't share too much information about herself, and obviously the situation with where I'm staying is not a fucking secret. The guy's name, trying to protect it, I mean, that's not a happening thing at this point. So this is one of the videos I can post up on YouTube. There's like 6 other conversations with Meg that are recorded recently that it's got too much information to put up there. When she was able to look at the evidence and realize how honest I've been, I mean, that's really what made a difference, and that took other people helping me with the computer skills that I don't have. His name is Juan Santana, and he's from Georgia, and he plays guitar. I wish I'd have gotten to hear him play. So, I mean, it's not that I wasn't trying to get help, it's that I don't have the technical abilities to do these things. The things I do have the technical ability to do, I have to try to ration my time between making these phone calls and going through evidence, and of course collecting evidence on the new stuff, and then of course I do have to make a video about it so that it's recorded. I don't remember names and dates. The more stressed I am, the more easily those things are forgotten. So making the videos allows me to go back later and review it, and also it lets me know what was going on at the time. That helps me to establish a timeline. Having my stuff stolen repeatedly, that's a lot of work that I had to do, and there were other people that helped. Shannon Alvarado, who had 6 weeks of being there, she spent about 6 hours taking 35 pictures. Yes, that legitimately took her 6 hours because she was fucking drunk as always. But then she wanted to throw that in my face. Like, I went there for help, not to deal with her drunken antics. And like when I went to see Brett Roloff, I went there to get help, not to deal with his meth antics, and not to be used as a tool when him and his girlfriend got into an argument. There's a lot of stuff that I have to worry about that is not your fault. There's a lot of stuff that I have to worry about that's not Meg's fault. But the thing is, with the evidence that I have, it shows that I should have been listened to instead of being treated mentally ill. With the number of people that I've known for 20 years or more who have stated loud and proud and as clear as day on my YouTube that I'm not schizophrenic and show no signs of schizophrenic and never have, that does speak volumes. There's also the fact that people keep telling me that I just need to let it go. I can't let it go. The courts have not let go of the Clearview bullshit. That happened before they found Natalie Bollinger's killer. That happened before they caught Joseph Michael Lopez. Now, the police in that situation, they wanted to pretend like they had to finagle it out of me or like I was trying to hide shit or whatever. No, I was completely honest with those son of a bitches. They just didn't want to hear me. The situation with many of my friends, like Miss Peaches, she just didn't understand and she didn't take the time to look. She was too busy giving me advice. Meg, she gave me a lot of advice and we went rounds about it. I was explaining to her, hey, I need help showing you the truth. I don't have the skills to do this. Instead of us arguing, take a look. There was a couple of occasions where she was pretty not happy about the situation because, I'm telling her stuff that it does sound crazy until you look at the evidence. And I didn't have help to do that. But once she was able to start taking a look at it, and like she said, there's 1,800 photographs. 1,800. That's just in paperwork. And there's a lot of stuff that I don't know if he took a picture of. I saw him taking a picture of envelopes, but I didn't see him pulling out what was in them to take pictures. So those are definitely there. There's also the fact that the police, when I tried to turn them in, they went out of their way to try to have me committed. That was their only option, was to try to discredit me by sending me to nuthatches and having me injected with drugs. That's what happens when you try to tell on the police. Now, Miss Peaches, she shouldn't have been helping my predators. And at the time, given as much time as she had spent actually finding out what was going on, shit, how was she to know that Blaine was one of my predators? But then again, he's there in person. He can talk to her in person. If he sees her, she's going to take the time to listen. Whereas on the phone, like, she's too busy giving me advice. With Meg, with the advice that she was giving me, it was great fucking advice, no joke. It was great advice. If it was a different situation. And now with a lot of the stuff, since you've seen the evidence, things that we have argued about, and, we argued about some of these things for months. After seeing the evidence, instead of arguing with me about those things, in her letter that she's writing, she is stating those things. That's her statement, not mine. I'm glad she's at least trying to help now. I mean, the way that I need it. Before it was a lot of I can't, I can't. And a lot of her reasons, she has valid fucking reasons for not coming all the way here to help me. A lot of people, they had valid reasons and still do have valid reasons. It's not easy to leave your job to go to court. That video that I made with Mateo, I mean, he's got work. He's got work next Wednesday. He can't exactly show up. I suppose he could, and he might actually try. I don't know. It's Mateo. He might actually try to get a day out of work to go. But I'm not for certain. The thing about me getting frustrated and having a meltdown, that's because people wanted to argue instead of take a look. Now, in just a few short days of Meg looking at the evidence, that she was already frustrated with all of this. She was frustrated that we were getting absolutely nowhere. Obviously, she was calling the same places that I was calling. Obviously. But the other thing is, people keep saying I should call those places over and over and over again. That is their same suggestion over and over. They haven't looked at the situation. A lot of people, they saw Rob Gavigan's thing and then they hopped on my channel and wanted to give me advice. Why don't you move? That was one of the arguments that me and Meg had. Why don't I just move? I'd moved over 40 times, since Natalie's death. Where am I going to move to? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to come up with the money after spending the money to move 40 times already? Where is that money going to come from? Also, Meg gets to see a lot of things that don't get to be posted on YouTube. She's just going through the paperwork stuff right now. Just the paperwork. Meg wasn't arguing because she's a bad person. She was arguing because she didn't understand the situation. Now that she's able to actually see it with her own two eyes, it allows her to do that. It allows her to better understand the situation. There's also the videos. Like she was saying, it does sound crazy when somebody says it. But all you have to do, it's as simple as looking it up. It is literally that simple. Now, the death of Demetrius Shankling was preventable, but the Boulder police were busy hiding their crimes. The death of Tiber Hatay was something that could have been avoided by listening to me over a year before the man was killed. Over a year before any investigation was even started, I had already spoken out about the things that Tony Kovaleski covered well over a year later. That's Clearview. That's the Larimer County case. That's the one that I was arrested on in Logan County. By the way, I was assaulted repeatedly in Logan County. I should have never been in jail in Logan County. They should have never assaulted me in Logan County. They shouldn't have hazed me or harassed me. They shouldn't have been picking on me and laughing at me. They should not have been ignoring my safety issues, and I tried repeatedly to explain to them my safety issues. I literally could not get a word out because they were talking over me. They would not let me have the opportunity to speak. They wanted to make sure that I could not say the things that I had to say by repeatedly cutting me off and presenting me with the very same safety issues that have existed through all of this. Yes, I was assaulted repeatedly at Logan County. Yes, they made fun of me pretty much the whole time. Yes, people got pissed off at me and cursed at me and yelled at me. Now, if I do those things, I'm the devil, aren't I? It's okay for a police officer, though. It's okay for police officers to assault me. It's okay for them to harass me and to tease me and to pick on me. That stuff needs to be brought up in all of my court dates. What happens when you try to turn in a bad cop?